Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick, and this is Super Simple Security Principles, where we talk about digital security principles that are easy to understand no matter your skill level. We are part of the I Hate Passwords Digital Self Defense Academy, or IHP Academy for short. Today, we have episode 18. Stop. I repeat, stop encouraging the spammers. As always, joining me today are Master Guardian Makani.
Hey, Nick.
How you doing, bud?
Doing good.
Whew. Okay, I'm going to drop this right at the beginning. It's called image tracking. I hadn't heard of it until recently. Imagine, if you will, a hidden image embedded in your email, meant to track and grab data. I had no clue this even existed. Many pictures that I was unaware of that could potentially share some of my data. Is that the truth? Sounds like a fantastic way for me to be spied on, personally. I guess marketers probably love it for that reason. Dude, Makani, enlighten me, bro. Why this subject? Why'd you get my anxiety going?
I do apologize for that. I understand it does sound kind of scary, and there is a little bit of threat, but it's not too much to worry about. But it is a small piece of the puzzle to help in the fight against spam, which is the continuation of the topic we've been talking about the last couple weeks. And I wanted to bring it up because I realized there are a few other little things I do outside of the core system that I talked about last week. And they're not particularly unique to me. I don't really think of them as parts of my system, but they're generically useful layers of protection that everyone should be using. And again, I want to say they are small layers. This image tracking, it is not a major threat. There's not need for a massive anxiety or anything, but it's worthwhile taking action on because it's very easy to do so. So that's what we'll be covering today and some other small layers in the next few weeks. And we're just going to answer 3 questions about image tracking. What is image tracking? Do I want to block image tracking? And the answer here might surprise you. And how do I block image tracking?
All right. You're going to have to explain to me what it is, because to me, again, it sounds like a neat way to spy. So, enlighten me.
It's a weird, sneaky thing that was clearly cooked up by some computer geek long ago. And because, like you talked about marketers, that's really where a lot of it comes about, is when most emails you receive include what's called a tracking pixel image. They call it pixel because that's a measurement of image. It's really, really small. It's 1 pixel by 1 pixel. And because it's so tiny, you can't see it. And here's the other twist, is it's not actually directly inserted into the email. Instead, it's actually just a link to that image that's then back on some other computer. And when you open an email, that image gets loaded from wherever it lives on the internet. So it's like a tiny little visit to a website far away, but far more safe. But it does leak basically the same kind of information as it would if you were visiting a website, namely the kind of device you're on, what time you visited, and mostly just the fact that you actually opened the email.
Yeah, not gonna lie, this sounds creepy. Oh, a 1 by 1 image that I can't quite see. Yeah, but if I'm to lead into this question, it sounds like you're going to tell us we don't want to always block it. Why is that?
Well, it basically comes down to this. If I don't want the email, I want to block it. If I do want the email, I don't. Because even though the image tracking doesn't send particularly private or sensitive information, it does tell the spammer that my email account is active and that I'm not informed enough to block tracking images, both of which encourage them, of course, to send me more spam. And I definitely don't want to give them any more reasons to send me spam. But on the other hand, if it's a business that I want to receive that email from, then I let the tracking happen for essentially the same reasons I block it, just flipped. Because selectively allowing image tracking for legitimate businesses helps, albeit in a tiny way, me get the emails I actually do want.
All right, I can totally see that. So we're going to be using this on an as needed basis. Block the junk, help the few things that we actually care about to get through. Am I understanding that correctly?
Exactly. And, to do it, it's not too complex, but it's very dependent on exactly how your email is set up. It's quick and easy. It's just a matter of changing a setting or two. But there is a lot of variety in what those settings are called, where to find them, and what they do exactly. And instead of trying to explain every situation here on the podcast, I created some instructions in the IHP Academy community forum, which is free to join, and there will be a link to it in the show notes. So you'll go there, and if there's any missing instructions for your setup, let me know, and I will add them. And Nick, that's the answers to our 3 questions for today about image tracking.
All right, I will definitely be checking out those instructions and getting my images blocked. Okay, there's a lot of tricks that spammers use. I have to be aware of something. Even though I'm going to go about blocking these images, I know this won't fix all my spam problems, but it's easy to do, and I'd rather have every layer I can. I love, and I mean love, skiing. I'd ski daily, year round if I could. One thing that's super important to me is my ski gear. I layer up. I don't want a cold winter day to derail my chance of skiing. So just like me and my ski addiction, layer up so you don't get caught without the right protection.
Thanks, Nick. Love thinking about your ski gear layers for sure. And to me, image tracking is a perfect example of what's wrong with the email system as a whole. This is what I think about as we wrap up here. It's so weird and convoluted, and this is really reflected in the variety of ways that it's explained and configured. And when I first started working on this episode, I was just thinking about how disabling image tracking looks for me in Fastmail. And honestly, I didn't fully realize how different it looks until I was writing up the instructions for all the different email setups, which just made me all the happier that we now have an episode about it and some instructions to go along with it for our listeners.
All right. We've reached that time in our show today. It's our call to action. Makani, let's have it.
First, follow the link in the show notes to the instructions that we've been talking about that I posted in the forum, and find the specific part of the instructions for your email setup. And then just make sure that image tracking is configured the way you want it to be. And if you check your email for multiple devices, make sure each one is set up the way you want. And of course, I recommend disabling it and allowing it selectively if you can, but there are a lot of cases where you won't be able to do that.
Okay, that's our super simple show today. If you're enjoying the podcast, you'll love our Security Dojo, the best place to level up your digital defenses. Makani will guide you every step of the way. To find out more, visit helpmegetsafe.com. You can also find the link in our show notes. Thank you for joining us, and make it a great day. Bye-bye.